your background in being a stuntman, did that have an impact on your insurance rates?
That's a really good question. That's funny. In LA, yeah, that was all covered under the Screen Actors Guild. So
Cool.
I was all set there. But yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, there's some risk. There's an indicator of high risk tolerance. I would imagine, maybe some people, or maybe you don't have to put that on the application anymore. So going from being a stuntman, like straight up Hollywood, and going into the trades, what did that path look like?
Oh, yeah, that was a lot of pride swallowing. Listen, I growing up being a stuntman, right? I mean, even when I was a teenager, that's kind of what set me apart.
Dang, I think I got that hook in you. So Josh, he's an author. He's a former stuntman. He's a business owner. He's a leader. He's also a podcaster. Both his book and his podcast are titled Blue is the New White. After you listen to this whole episode, go check him out. Give him a follow. He's on the LinkedIn and the social media stuff. And Renee is with us. It always makes me happy to hang out with our co-host and my baby brother, my hero, Renee. And I'm not sure if he was grumpy or what happened, but man, he was asking some questions. He had Josh and even I squirming there a bit. Renee actually challenged us about whether Josh and I still qualify as blue collar workers, given that we don't exactly put our hands on the work anymore. I'm going to side with Josh on this one in that we absolutely are. So you'll get to hear that banter back and forth. Josh also talks about, given the list of accomplishments and contributions that he's made in his life, he credits that to taking responsibility and offers some advice around putting yourself out there when you want to be considered for that leadership role or that new opportunity. You've got to voice that, and you'll get some more details about that. And for all my hiring managers out there, y'all know this life where you need to hire somebody and you really need somebody like right now. But you also want to make sure that you hire the right person that's going to be a contributor to the team, that's focused on learning and growing and developing themselves. And so Josh dropped some nuggets on us in terms of what he did and some of the lessons he learned in making great hires and less than great hires. We also got to give a shout out to our supporters out there. Shout out to Construction Ache Solutions. Mr. Adam Hoot signed up and he's now a patron on our patreons.com/learnings and missteps. Appreciate you, my man. Love you. Wish you nothing but the best. And here we go. So what's going on? We got Mr. Josh Zolin today. How you doing, Mr. Josh?
I'm doing good, Jesse. How are you?
Oh man, having fun. I've got a little, I don't know, my equilibrium's off a little. I woke up this morning and I'm kind of bouncing off the walls a little. I walking to get coffee, I took the scenic route, kept kind of leaning to one. Yeah, it's a little, but it's okay because I'm sitting down now. As long as I don't move too fast. And we got Renee
that makes
here.
life fun, doesn't it?
Oh, it adds some excitement. It did. It added a little color to making me some coffee. Renee, you doing good today?
I've been better. The snooze button kind of beat me up a little bit this morning. Kind of threw me off my routine. Yeah, like I like to wake up at 4:30 and then get my pre-workout mixed and then go to the gym. But I pressed the snooze, so I didn't wake up till like 5:40.
Oof.
And then I go to the gym and I have my little freaking QR code that lets me in, right? Well, then my phone's dead. It's the QR code's on my freaking phone. So
no.
Yeah, so I missed the gym. And I'm already drank my pre-workout, so I'm all roid rage. And I just have to do something at home and I'm all disgruntled.
Yeah. So your whole day is just out of whack, huh?
Yeah. I'm not gonna leave the house at all. I'll get into an accident or something.
I'm feeling a theme here, Josh. You're feeling a little under the weather, and you still said, "Heck, I'm coming. I'm showing up."
Yeah, looks like all of us did.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Yes.
kidding.
So apologies to the L&M family. We're a little off, but we love you, and that's why we're gonna power through it this morning.
That's right.
So, Josh, yeah, you were gracious and let me be on your podcast, which was it was a it was a revealing and meaningful conversation, and I appreciate that very much. Would you mind telling our folks about your podcast and the efforts that you've been you've been carrying the torch for quite a while now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't say carrying the torch, it's just it's a little passion project of mine, but of course, so in 2019, I published a book called Blue is the New White, the best path to success that nobody told you about until now. And it was a huge success, right? It was adopted into a bunch of high schools, talking about the importance of the skilled trades and kind of trying to change this perception, right, that the skilled trades are a second-rate career, and that there's a ton of different opportunities and benefits and trajectories that nobody really knows exists because we're always taught to go down the white collar path, right? We're just taught to go to college, university, and everything else. You might as well be driving for Uber or something, and no offense to anybody that's driving for Uber. That's I'm just saying, But so anyway, that the response I got from the book was phenomenal. So I thought what I would do is spin off a podcast and talk to a lot of these people that I'm talking about, right, who have found success in the skilled trades. So that over the next year and a half or so, I'd talked to over 100 different people now. Damn, nice. In the skilled trades, just talking about their successes, their failures, their learnings, their missteps,
yes.
But really just, why it is that they love what they do. And I think it's an important narrative to push, when we're trying to set the nation's youth up for success. It's important they know there's more than one way.
Oh my God, 100%, and that's where you and I resonated or felt connected with you and your message, because there's more than one way. There are several ways, but there's one heavy message out there, and we need to band together and overcome that. I don't know if I told you this when you interviewed me on your show, but when Renee and I were brainstorming in the creative phase of the podcast, we're doing some research, and so I was looking for this type of, how many people are out there doing this type of conversation around careers in the industry. And yours was the only one I could find at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I need to listen to it, because I didn't want to mimic, like, copy, but I wanted to see, okay, what's the message? What's that sound like? And get a good, like, it was a frame of reference, right? Some guidance. Sure. And look for some other ones, but there's not a bunch of them. There are construction or trades related podcasts, but not necessarily interviewing people and talking about the career options out there specifically.
Right.
So I was like, oh man, I got to connect. And I don't know, through a string of events, you and I ended up connecting for me to be on your show. And then it was like, bro, you got to come on mine pretty please. And now we're here, which is pretty darn awesome. So it was Blue is the New White. That's the name of the book and the podcast?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So L&M family members, check them out. Share it with your youngsters out there. Give them a new perspective on the amazing things that are available out here in this industry, or in the trades. So, Josh, what else should the L&M family know about you?
That's weird. You're gonna make me brag about myself?
Yeah, man. Come on, baby.
I don't know. Well, one thing that people usually find interesting is before I was in the trades, I was a stuntman.
Oh,
right? So
cool.
yeah. So I kind of try to tie that into my story. You know, growing up, I grew up on a farm in Kenosha, Wisconsin, right, of all places.
Yeah.
And but my parents had converted that farm into a stunt school because my grandfather and my uncles and all that, they were kind of the pioneers in the stunt industry, right? My grandfather doubled for Charles Bronson, and he was, you know, in a lot of the old television series like Danger Island, Banana Splits Hour. He was Chongo. You know, it's kind of, that was the family business, right?
Yeah.
If you will. So so before I got into the trades, like I knew I wasn't going to go to college, right? Because I was going to be a stuntman.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, after high school, I hightailed it out west and spent a couple of years in Hollywood,
Wow.
doing stunts for the big screen, and then moved to Arizona and started working on ovens.
No, that's a leap. I just realized you're in Arizona, so it's 6 a.m. for you.
7.
Oh, 7. Okay, so 1 hour. Okay, well,
Yeah,
still,
we don't change time. That screws
That's
screws
right.
everybody up.
Yeah, that's what
It's
it
great for
is.
me. I love it.
Stays even. You're good.
Yeah.
So on the stunt, how difficult was it for you to, or rather, your background in being a stuntman, did that have an impact on your insurance rates?
That's a really good question. That's funny. In LA, yeah, that was all covered under the Screen Actors Guild. So
Oh, cool.
I was all set there. But yeah,
Oh.
that's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, there's some risk. There's
Yeah.
an indicator of high risk tolerance. I would imagine, maybe some people, or
Yeah.
maybe you don't have to put that on the application anymore. Uh, that's a great story. So going from being a stunt man, like straight up Hollywood, and going to the trades, what did that path look like?
Oh, yeah, that was a lot of pride swallowing, if you
Okay.
will. You know, I growing up being a stuntman, right? I mean, even when I was a teenager, that's kind of what set me apart, you know. So I hung my hat on that for a long time. You know, that's what made me cool, guys. Like that
Right,
was that
right.
was my ego, right? It was, hey, I was the kid that could jump off buildings, roll cars, and light myself on fire. What can you do? You know what I mean? And so, and that was me being young, but that carried into when I moved out west. And um, honestly, it wasn't me. It was, again, it was my ego. So it was tough when I made the decision to leave the business. And I made the decision to leave the business because there was a couple of things. Number one, I hated the bureaucracy of everything in the industry, right? I was an entrepreneur at heart.
Yep.
And I that's what I loved. And I knew that being a stuntman, I would never be more than just a crash dummy for somebody who was deemed more important than I was. And I just, that was hard for me to swallow, so that, and then I looked around and I saw my uncles, my grandfather, and everybody's limping around,
Yeah.
everybody's got these aches and these pains, and, well, it makes sense, right? I mean, all we do is throw ourselves around for a living. So, so in the meantime, like when I moved out to LA, my dad had simultaneously gotten out of the stunt business because he was in the stunt business too. He got out of the stunt business and moved to Arizona and started Windy City,
Okay.
the company that I run now. And and so when I left LA, it was just him at the time, right, fixing commercial restaurant equipment. Just him in a little truck running around and stuff. So I called him up one day and I just said, "Hey, Dad, I got no idea what you do for a living, but I want to be a part of it. I'm done here in LA." And and that was that. So that was the transition. It wasn't easy. It was hard to give up because it's what I knew my entire life.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I did.
Yeah. So you're thriving now. I mean, I see you posting on LinkedIn. You're speaking at national events, and I mean, you're all over the place. Um, how long did it take? Oh, yeah. What was the time gap between you getting into commercial equipment and then realizing that you had a message to get out there and making that happen?
Oh, that's a good question. So let's see. It was 2008, I believe, when I left LA and I came here. And I didn't know the first thing about the trade, right? I had no idea that this trade even existed. Uh, so I spent about 10 years learning it, right? And helping my dad grow the business. But it was the first thing was my dad's super old school, right? You got to
Okay.
understand. He's super old school. So there were no handouts. There was nothing given
Oh
to
yeah.
me. There was, nothing like that. It was, hey, if you want to be a part of this business, you got to saddle up in these overalls and get out here, turn the wrenches, come on, Hollywood boy, let's go. And,
Yeah.
and so, which I appreciate a lot. And because it really, that's what kind of opened my eyes, right? So I realized, to answer your question, I realized the opportunities that existed probably somewhere around 2014 when we started bringing on more employees.
Yep.
And when I started seeing what these guys were making, seeing what I was up against, trying to bring them in, and people that have worked other places, and they're like, hey, this is what I was being offered at this other place, and I'm like, what? Are you serious? And so that's when I first realized that I couldn't do anything about it though until about 2018 when I started writing the book.
Yeah.
And then so, at that point we had grown the business big enough to where, I had a little bit of free time.
Okay.
When I say a little bit of free time, I mean like between the hours of 11 and 12 at night,
Right. Right.
to sit down and put the pencil to the paper. But yeah, so at that point, it was that, hey, why doesn't anybody know this? What can I do to help? It was actually my wife, that I credit with the book, because she knew that I had always wanted to write a book. I just
Okay.
never knew what I wanted to write a book about. And I was always bitching about, oh, sorry, I don't know if I can.
You're good. You're
It's
good.
fine.
I was always complaining about how, there's no literature on the skilled trades, and I wish more people knew about it. And I can't believe stuff isn't in high schools and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, will you shut up and just write that? I was like,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, all right. That makes sense. So yeah, that's was that a answer to your question? I hope so.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good.
It kind of paints the picture of what it's how you got there. You saw a gap, um, and were frustrated by it, driven by the real experience of trying to get people in and how few there were. And here's the magical thing, Renee, take notes. Like there's a lot of things that bug us and that we'll complain and piss and moan about, but if you don't take action upon it, it's gonna stay the same.
Yeah.
And complaining and worrying are like sitting in a rocking chair, and going as fast as you can. But it doesn't accomplish anything, right? You just spend a lot of damn energy. And so I had Ed Mauricio. He was a pipe fitter. I was his helper for a few years. And that dude, I mean, I'm a plumber by trade, but I lucked out and got paired up with him. And he and I worked together for about 2 years. I was like my second and third year of apprenticeship. And that dude laid some wisdom on me, he opened my mind to different way of ordering material, planning out my work, etc. But one of the ideas he planted in my head was don't complain about anything you're not prepared to take action on. that simple. I was like, yeah, but I was a frustrated young man wanting to, take on the world, and I was complaining all the time. He's like, okay, so what are you gonna do about it? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's not my fault. He's like, you got to stop. Like, if you ain't gonna take action on it, don't complain about it because you're just wasting energy. And so, from what you just described, that's what I hear. Right? Your wife said, like, bro, write the book. Here's your subject matter. Like, come on, it's consuming your mind, and I'm tired of hearing about it. That may not have been what she said, but
that's right.
Somewhere
Pretty much
in that
verbatim, actually.
Now, in your years coming into the trade, building a business, interviewing over 100 people, are there any themes or similarities you've seen or heard from the various conversations and stories that you've been and part of?
Yeah, it's the one theme. Okay, so there's two actually. So the two things that are common amongst almost everybody that I've talked to is, number one, they don't do it for the money, and number two, it's always in one way, shape, or form. The biggest reward that they get is helping people, which I thought was interesting. There's been a couple of outliers. Some people have been like, yeah, I love the money. Money's great, right. Which it is, and that's good. But most people that I've talked to, they go beyond the money, right? They all say the same thing. Money is a great catalyst. Money is necessary, to provide security to your family and this and that. But at the end of the day, this is what I define success as, and it's not money. So I think that's great. I think that's telling. And I've talked to a lot of different people, young and old, and that narrative is constant. So it's very interesting. And then the helping people, right? I think that's a great testament to just the skilled trades in itself, and what they're designed to do. And that's what I talk about, right? I mean, you look out your window and you can't throw a rock without hitting something that was a result of the skilled trades. And at the end of the day, all that is to help people. I just said in a talk I gave for an organization last week that if we want to start attracting more people into the industry, we need to start talking about the skilled trades in a different light, right? We don't build roads, we connect cities. You know what I'm saying? We my sickness is going to cloud my head here, but we don't fix AC. We keep people comfortable, right? And we have to change the way that we look at it. But at the end of the day, it's all about helping people, connecting people, and that's the common narrative that I see.
There's you're familiar with the hierarchy of needs?
Yeah.
So security is at the bottom, and then self-actualization's at the top. I don't know all the stuff in the middle, but I know that. And I think there's something there, right? Like, in our industry, in the trades, financially, you're gonna make some money, right? Like, if Renee would have stayed in the job that we connected him with early on as a sheet metal apprentice, he'd be making a lot more money right now today. But he had some learnings and missteps to go through.
And he probably wouldn't hit that snooze button either, huh, bud?
Right. Got him. So you come into the trades, make a generous living, right? The compensation in the trades, it's not pennies, it's real money. And so now you have this income that helps you establish the security, which is a direct line to self-actualization. And I think you're a perfect example of that, the self-actualization, or a point now you're out there sharing your knowledge and your wisdom, and getting people to calibrate their thinking around the careers and the opportunities in our industry. And the theme that you picked up on with all the people that you've talked to is, yeah, the money's good, but I get to help people. And we, I think, as humans, it's going to be difficult to be even thinking about anybody else until our fundamental needs are taken care of. And the trades help that happen. Now, if this is me, I'm the case study in this comment. This next comment is, it's very easy to spend that money on stuff that's not healthy.
Yeah.
I did that for a long time. It took me a couple of rounds to say, wait a minute, like, where did all my money go? Like, oh, I drank it all. So it took me a while to mature and get that under control. But once I did that, started, putting money away and making smart moves with my money, it led me down a path to start seeing other things and dive deeper into helping people. 100%. I do things. I don't work in the trades anymore. I'm still in the industry, but I help people more and more, and discovered that was the most important thing for me, because it's healing and it also contributes, and it's just this perpetual energy that continues to build.
Yeah.
Renee, you still awake over there?
Yeah, I'm awake. So I want to change gears a little bit. I got a couple of questions with a curveball at the end.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so what was, when you left Hollywood, and you got into your skilled trade, what was your skilled trade and what did the work entail?
Good question. So the skilled trade was commercial kitchen equipment repair. So ovens, fryers, stoves, all we did was hot side equipment, right? It was just me and my dad. And it stemmed from his work after he got out of the stunt business. He worked at a bakery for a long time. He was a foreman of a bakery, right? So he took his bakery knowledge, which is, basically restaurant equipment times 100.
Yeah.
And kind of scaled it back a little bit and then continued learning from that. Now, the funny thing about commercial kitchen equipment is there's not necessarily a trade school for it. So you have to either learn it yourself, or you have to have you have to do an apprenticeship or something of that nature. There's one association out there called Cefesa that has some courses and stuff like that, but it's not always super easy to get in. Not a ton of people know about it, and there's only one location that you can actually do the learning. So it was very interesting, and to ask what it entails. So that's funny. Because I talk about this in my book a lot, right? Is that it was disgusting. All right, I don't know how else to say it. All right, listen, and I say that, but like some jobs were better than others, obviously, but you go into some places, and of course, I'm not going to name any names, but you go into some places, and it's like, oh, hey, my fryer's not working. And you pull it out and there's like chicken wings on the floor from 7 or 8 years ago. And you're like, come on, man. And my dad, again, he's old school, right? And he thinks this shit is funny. So he's like, all right, we got to change the gas hose out on this fryer. So get in there, son. Don't be afraid. So we're pulling out these fryers. And this was, I remember this job specifically, right? But we pulled out the fryers, and it's just like caked. The walls and the floor are caked with grease, right? God knows how old this grease was, right? And I'm over there in the back, with a pipe wrench on the gas hose, right? I'm bracing myself somewhere else because the floor is like ice, and and I try to give it one turn, right? Completely slip, end up on my back like a fish out of water. Just flopping around in this grease, like trying to stand up. I'm caked head to toe. And he's just over there laughing, like, you're lucky we get paid by the hour, kid.
Yeah. Come on.
But yeah, and I mean, that's the worst of the worst circumstance. I enjoyed a lot of the work too when it wasn't as disgusting as that. Like we got to work on a lot of pizza ovens, like the conveyor ovens and stuff like that. And that was a lot of fun because there's a ton of electronic components involved. So you got solenoid valves, you got controllers, you've got modulating valves, you got ignition modules, and all, and trying to figure out and learn how all this stuff communicates with one another in order to create this combustion in this oven and regulate temperature. So that part of it was a lot of fun. I got a lot of satisfaction from that because it was problem solving, right?
Yes.
And again, you go back to helping people, and Renee, there's nothing better, on a Friday night when you get a call from that guy whose life is to run his pizza joint, and he doesn't have any ovens until you get there, you fix it, and he practically hugs you and says, thank you, now I can feed my family. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, I get it. I get it now.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so you said that it seemed like you were like talking in the past tense, like you said you enjoyed the work. So I'm assuming you're not doing that anymore, like at least to make money.
No, I'm not in the field anymore. I still I run the company, but I'm CEO now, and everyone makes fun of me because I'm at my cushy desk all day.
Yeah. Okay, so I asked this question to Jesse a couple of months back. So we were talking. So let me ask you this before I get into that. So, what do you define as a trade? What is trade work to you?
That's a good question. I have a little bit different definition than most people. How I define a trade or a skilled trade is anything that requires education that isn't formal education, anything that requires formal education that isn't college or university. Okay, so that would be like plumbers, electricians, commercial food service technicians, but also things like dental hygienists, realtors. There's so it groups a couple of different categories in together. Now I usually talk, and then I split that up by blue collar skilled trades is kind of the stuff that we usually talk about. But that's how I define skilled trade.
Okay, so then I have another question. So, is there a point on the organizational chart of a trade company, right? Let's simplify it to like plumbing. Of a plumbing company, is there a point where you're the top CEO and the bottom is like a service helper plumber? Is there a point on the organizational chart where it's no longer a trade job?
No.
Why? Why not?
Well, I guess that's a good question, Renee. Ooh, because now you're making me think. I thought I had the answer.
He warned you. He warned you in the beginning.
He did warn me. No. Okay. So I guess it depends. Is my answer, right? Because the size of the organization will come into play, because at a certain point in a corporate evolution, right, it's going to take a little bit of a turn as to who comes into the business and how. Whereas a grassroots company, right, like mine, who's grown over the years and grown with the people in it, and been selective about the people that come in it, how am I trying to frame this? So, yeah, I think. Oh man, Renee, I want to slow clap you. No, my brain's not working fast enough today. Yes, no, I'm gonna go with yeah. It's still considered a trade organization, no matter who's at the top or who's at the bottom. That was the question, right? Is it a trade job? Is that what it was?
So the question was at what point is there a point in the organizational chart where it's no longer a trade? Like you're no longer considered a trade worker, I should say.
Okay. Yeah, that's tough.
It's, you know what,
Yeah,
Renee? I identify as a trade worker, whether you like it or not.
And maybe that's where I'm hung up, honestly, because this is what I talk about on a daily basis, and this is what this is what I came up in the company doing, is turning the wrenches. But at the end of the day, in my spot, is it a blue collar spot or is it a white collar spot? It's just really kind of what you're asking, right? In that, where in that hierarchy chart does that change? And yeah, I think that if somebody comes up in the blue collar world, they're always going to consider themselves blue collar, right, Jesse?
Absolutely.
But if they don't come up in the blue collar world, right, and they land a spot in an organization after going to college and maybe other leadership roles, management roles, that kind of stuff, they've never been in a blue collar role, they won't consider themselves blue collar just because they're running a blue collar company. That's what I was trying to say for the past 25 minutes.
That was good. But you know what I love? What I love is what we could see is the conflict, right? Because you identify as a craft worker because that's where you came up.
Yeah.
You're in a different role, and so it's not like a separation. For you, you're still a craft worker, and for me, I'm still a plumber.
Yeah.
Even though I got shiny boots now, I still identify as a plumber. And I've worked with, and to your point, I've worked with HR professionals, talent acquisitionists, marketing professionals, financial managers. And as you were speaking, Josh, I'm like, oh wow, like that's well said, because they make comments like, man, I wish I had a skill like you. I wish I knew how to fix things and build things like y'all. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't fix anything anymore. All I do is talk. but it's the background, right? We went through it, and so we have that, and we did the work. And now, since we've done the work, regardless of what role we're serving in, we still identify as a craft worker, tradesman, blue collar professional. So Renee, 2 against 1. We are craft workers. We're proud blue collar professionals, whether you like it or not.
Hey, well, it's 2021. We can identify as anything we want to.
Oh, shots fired.
Nice one.
But okay, so let me give you where this question kind of cooked up in my head, and it's been cooking up for a while now. So I'm in the field, right? And I'm for sure, I question myself because I started off in my water company as a helper, doing the repairs, digging the trenches, getting muddy, sweaty, and whatever, right? And now I very rarely have to do that. And I'm just the guy that kind of shows up on site first. I'm the first responder for water and sewer emergencies for my water utility company here in San Antonio. That's what I do. So I basically I'm like the quarterback. I just find out what's going on and I pass it on to the correct crew or correct department in our water company. That's it. I don't have to ever do repairs unless it's super minor and quick and I can just do it myself. And even then, I don't even have to. Nobody's expecting me to repair anything. I just do it because I've been there, and if I can take that job away from somebody else so they can work on something else more important, I'll do it, right? But nobody's even expecting me to do that. So I'm in this space and I'm like, man, one more promotion up and now I'm completely out of the work. I'm like, am I even a worker, like a blue collar worker? Can I consider myself even a blue collar worker anymore? I'm barely that now, just because I get my boots muddy once a week. Does that qualify me? So I've been thinking about that And on top of that, I'm watching people, good, hard charging workers get really disgruntled and demotivated because they feel like they're getting passed up in certain promotions or are being led by people that have never seen the field in ever, right? So it's like I I mean, all of us here in this chat know the value of coming up from the helper side to where we're at now. We know that value. And for whatever reason, we didn't get disgruntled and throw in the towel. But I'm watching people that are good workers who would make awesome leaders in the future if they just stick it out, because they're watching people like getting, X, Y, and Z degree, and they're now our director, and they've never seen the field, or they're now our superintendent, even as low as superintendent. They've never seen our work at all, and they're calling the shots, right? So it's like, and then these guys are like, for what? Like, why even try? Why even try hard? Why even work consistently? Why not just do the bare minimum now? Because I'm gonna get passed up anyway. That's what I hear all the time, and I'm having a really difficult time convincing them, that hey, just keep sticking it out, because they keep seeing this, and I'm having a hard time, um, I don't know what's the word to use, but just, I guess, soothing them. Other than it's the right thing, it's the moral thing to do, just to not quit. But it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. Like, and I'll give you one more example. Recently, we, without getting too technical, uh, our job, we have a team of like 17 guys. We all take the calls for water and sewer emergencies. Okay, well, we have to document our findings, right? And we document it and we send it off on this app we have, and data clerks come out behind us. They get what they need to get, and they kind of do the finishing touches, and then they send it off, and now it's like final. Our documents are final, they're finalized, and they're all good to go. Well, for whatever reason, this is what has been communicated to us, is these data clerks don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to finalize our work. So they decided they're just not going to do it. And so now we have to do it, which is fine with me. I think, sure. I mean, my pride tells me I'll do your job and my job, and I'm not going to complain about it, and I'm going to get more glory for it too. So whatever, you don't want to give me a raise, I don't care. I'm going to be the only one not crying. So whatever, right? That's going to be good on me. But a lot of other people are really, really upset about that. And, it's hard to calm that if they don't have that drive already, to like say, fine, I will do it. I'll do your job and my job. A lot of people don't have that, and they're considering leaving. They're considering, just turning into people that just do the bare minimum when they were otherwise great workers. You know what I'm saying? So what do we tell these people?
Oh, that's heavy. We see it here too, right? I mean, in this industry, kind of on the same wavelength of that, like service managers, for instance. I have a lot of people come into my organization because the organization that they were previously with, they hired a service manager that's never turned a wrench before. He's straight out of college, and he's never turned a wrench. And I just don't respect that, because at the end of the day, that's what they're saying, right? Is that it's a respect thing. So a couple of thoughts here. Number one, I'm a huge personal responsibility guy, right? So you can't convince me ever that it's okay to throw in the towel, or to point the finger, or to place the blame. I mean, you won't do it, and that goes for both sides, right? And when I say that, I mean, if these guys are coming in to your organization, for instance, and they don't have field experience, Let me ask you this: are they spending any time with those in the field? Are they making an effort to earn that respect, or are they coming in thinking that it's just owed to them?
I wouldn't go as far as say they think it's owed to them, but I personally never seen these people in the field or at all. I've just never even seen them at all ever. Like I've just
Okay.
never seen them.
So that's number one, right? And again, a lot of this stuff is stuff that we're not going to have control over. I'm just spitballing, But so I would say that that's number one. Number two, the personal responsibility on the side of the guys that you're talking about is, I mean, look, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your dress or anything, Renee, but it's like they got to act more like you. I mean. They just got to bite the bullet, and they got to understand this is a pride thing, right? And you were hired to do a job, and you need to do that job 110%. And you know what? If you are interested in moving up, moving on, you've got to do anything and everything possible to enable that. And I don't know what they are or they're not doing, but I do know that, for instance, when I started learning this trade, and learning from my dad, he wasn't paying me shit, right? So I was making peanuts, and so I was delivering pizzas at night. I would get up at 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. I would run service until about 6 o'clock at night. I would go deliver pizzas from 8 o'clock to midnight, and then I'd get up and do the same thing again the next day. I did that for years, right? But what I also did though is, I whenever I would have to replace one of these parts, say in a fryer, or an oven, or a stove, or whatever, if I ever had the opportunity, I would take one of those parts and I would bring it home, and I would take it apart on the living room floor, to the dismay of my wife. She hated it. Obviously, the dogs would start licking the grease off the valves. It was terrible. But look, in order for me to succeed, and it's a little bit different circumstance, right? But in order for me to succeed, I knew I needed all the knowledge that I could possibly gain, even above, what my dad could provide me. And this, so that was just one example, but it's that personal responsibility to go above and beyond, take that next step, really, take that craft, let people know where you want to be, and do everything possible to get there. And if you're still passed up, again, got to go back to Stoic philosophy on this, right? Is that, you can't worry about the things that you can't control, but you have to realize the things that you can. And, so I think that, for better or worse, these situations are always going to exist, and especially in the skilled trades industries. And it's something that we've got to navigate, because look, at the end of the day, there are positions that demand different skill sets, right? And because I had to come to terms with this for a while too. All my service managers have turned wrenches in the field, but you know why? It's because that's my values, that's my philosophy, right? But could my organization run with service managers that have never turned wrenches in the field but have exceptional leadership skills? Absolutely. They absolutely could, but it's a different set of values. So one's not necessarily right or wrong. It's just about how it's executed. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And that's like my only comeback that I've had so far. But it seems to fall flat. But I tell people, it's like, okay, well, if you don't like that, if you don't like that people are getting passed up over some, college boy dude who's never got money in his life, well, then you need to play the game as hard as you can to get in the position where you're on the hiring panel, where you say, like, no, I mean, I'm gonna pick Joe Schmo that's been here for 15 years and knows everything. That's your values. And then you need to be in the position, get yourself in the position in the organization to be the guy that hires people. That's what you got to do. If you don't like it, you got to get there, play the game, suck it up, and that's it. but I'm having a hard time communicating that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and you also can't wait to be picked either, right? You have to get out there and you got to show them that that's what you want, and I'm not talking about just, meekly saying, hey, pick me. Pick me. I mean, you got to get in somebody's face respectfully, right? And say, listen, I can do this. Consider me for this position. I mean, see, that kind of stuff I relate back to my stunt industry days, right? Because I'd be out at 3 a.m. hustling sets, trying to meet stunt coordinators and say, hey, we've never met before, but I can do this. Here's my headshot. Call me. And it's like, that's what you got to do. You got to put yourself out there and let it be known that, hey, you can do this and you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds to me, Renee, like your crew out there, they're all circled around in a bunch of rocking chairs, complaining like hell, but they ain't going nowhere. They need to take some action. All that energy can be put into something productive. So I applaud you for not getting sucked into it. But I think carry yourself the way that you do, be the example, and call them on it. Like, it's okay to be proud of yourself, and you got to own your impact. Right? You got to say, look here's my path. And all of y'all are older than me. I didn't go to college. I'm not the college boy, but this is what I did. What I'm not doing is complaining. Right? A little bit of reality can help some people out. So, beautiful question. I'll put you in timeout because you're asking really hard questions today, Renee.
I love it, man. I love it.
It's good stuff. I know it's going to bring value. And Josh, thank you for answering the questions with the depth and reality that you did, because our audience, they're all different ages, and there are some young professionals out there that are dealing with exactly these problems. So it's going to be valuable for them. So here's the fans only content question, Josh. What is a significant learning that you've had as a result of a painful misstep?
Oh God. When you have so many, they all start to blur together.
Yes, I know that.
Oh, it's really hard to say. I guess one that stands out, like I said, I mean, as when you grow a business.
It's me again, the party crasher. I do this so that I can remind you that you can sign up for 3 different levels on patreon.com/learnings and missteps. All 3 levels are going to get you backstage pass access. So you're going to get to learn the dark secrets of our guests. And more importantly, you're going to help us stay commercial free. So appreciate y'all's patience, and here we go. So we got to be responsible to your point, Josh, and what we want for people, we're not them.
Right.
We're not them, and we got to respect that. Oh man, beautiful stuff. Hard lessons out there. You've had a lot of impact, Josh, in the industry. You're out there influencing people. How comfortable are you with identifying as an influencer?
What kind of question is that, Jesse? It's a funny question, because I just had this conversation with somebody not long ago. I would say that I want to try to find another word for it, right?
Okay.
Because I'm not your typical influencer, right? I don't have millions of followers, right? And I don't, that's not me. I make an impact. I know I do, with the following that I have, and that's good enough for me. That's all I ever wanted to be able to do, right? I don't need a ton of eyeballs. I just need the right eyeballs, or ears, whoever's watching or listening,
Right.
I guess I don't know what other word we could find besides influencer, but influencer just doesn't sound right to me. I don't. Here's the other thing too, is I don't want to influence people to do anything. I think maybe that's where my hesitation comes in. I'm not trying to influence. I'm trying to educate. I'm trying to inspire. Right. I'm trying to just let people know what's out there. I'm not trying to influence anybody to get into the skilled trades if they don't want to or anything like that. I'm trying to put it on a pedestal, on a platform, on a stage, so people can say, I didn't know about this, but now I have this resource where I can. And holy cow, I didn't realize how many people were happy and successful and, wealthy and all this other stuff. I just, so, to answer your question, no, don't call me an influencer.
I love it. It's good. Well, you've had impact, man, and I'm grateful to you for the impact that you've had and will continue to have. And so, the future is always ahead of us. What footprint do you intend to have on the world?
That's a good question. I just, at the end of the day, I mean, my world revolves first and foremost around my family, right? So, I do what I do at the end of the day for them, and that's really all I need. If you would have asked me this while I was still a stuntman, I would have said it was a glass house on a mountain bluff somewhere. Okay, that would be my
That's what I'm gonna do.
My footprint. But no, it's first and foremost, it's my family. And I just, it sounds cliche, but at the end of the day, I want to be remembered as a good man who made a difference somehow, right? Whether that's in the skilled trades, whether that's with my crew here at Windy City, with my family, my friends, whatever. Not picky, man. It's just,
No, it's that. I think it's that the real stuff, right? The people around you, your family, the people you work with, because they're also family. You spend as much or more time with them than you do at home. Well, that's not an accusation. That's an assumption, right? Because I've done that in my past. And if we can affect like the ripples of impact that's going to have are tremendous. And so that glass house on the bluff, like that's pretty sexy. But how is that going to serve our community? But impacting your family and the people you work with, caring for them, honoring them, respecting them, that's where it's at, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There was, have you read the 7 Habits?
Oh yeah,
Highly Effective People.
Renee listened to them 2 or 3 times driving to Colorado and back. And New Mexico.
New Mexico.
He was a teenager. He's like, Jesse, I really, really want to listen to that Stephen Covey CD. I said, sure, no problem. Remember that, Renee?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. I remember you lying about that right now. You're lying right now. I never volunteered for that. But that's funny you say that because another CD, I don't remember where we were driving, but you were listening to I forgot what his name is, the author, but it's called Negotiate This. Do you remember the name of the author?
Yes.
It's so
I don't
funny.
remember that.
Okay, well, you would play that, and I was like, why are you listening to this garbage? And I recently bought that audiobook.
Oh, that's so funny. Nice. Look at that, full circle, buddy.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. Where I was going with that is it reminds me of, I think it's habit number 2, I want to say, where it's the the end of life exercise. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
you're going to a funeral, but I think that's if anybody out there hasn't read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, do yourself a favor right now. I'm sure, you've heard of it. Everybody's heard of it. If you haven't, crawl out from that rock that you're living under, hear about it, read it. It's a good book. But that exercise really helps you gain perspective on, what you want in life, where you're at now, and how you can go about getting it.
Yep. That's solid advice. Thank you, Josh, for that. Renee, any final thoughts, my friend?
I'm going to stay in timeout.
Crazy.
No,
Well,
but
Josh,
you nailed it.
Yeah. So, Josh, was there anything that we failed to cover that you wanted to mention and share with the L&Mers out there?
No, man, I don't think so. I blacked out during this whole thing, so I don't know what just happened.
You killed it. That's what happened. You killed it. Appreciate your time, my man. This was fun, and again, Renee, he's my brother, and I love him, and I deeply appreciate professionals out there that are willing to share their knowledge and expertise with them. And so, Josh, I'm grateful because what you've shared is going to help him in his career and help him be an awesome dad and an awesome husband and an awesome community member. And someday he'll figure out how to be an awesome brother.
I'm working on it. One day at a time. 1% better than yesterday.
That's it.
What's up, L&M fam? Jesse has finally let me out of timeout, and it's about that time for our listener shout out. What do you think, Jesse?
Ready to go, baby. So our listener shout out goes to Miss Emily Pike. She sent us a message and said, "Thanks for connecting. I love the podcast. I love listening to and reading about other people's stories and their journey and experiences through the trades. Keep up the amazing work." We got that message through LinkedIn. So Emily, appreciate that you're listening and really love the feedback. It helps motivate us. Man, you are one dedicated listener, sticking with us all the way through to the very, very end. Please know that this podcast dies without you, and we invite you to share how the episode's impacting you, along with your thoughts, questions, and suggestions. You've been gracious with your time, so we added social media links in the show notes to make it super easy for you to connect with us. Be kind to yourself, stay cool, and we'll talk at you next time.